Got a whiteboard.
And we are live again. Take 2 for Bass and Brews Fishing Podcast. Because our hostess with the dumbassest, mostest fucked up the first one. So everybody listening and or watching now is seeing a cut in from 2 different podcasts because Alex got all excited into the podcast when he left. So anyway, here we are today. Thanks for Alex for coming. We miss you, dog. But here tonight we got Shawn, the Fisherman, from the Jigs and Bigs podcast. All right, so we always start this podcast off talking about what we drinking and stuff. So tonight I got a 420 Sweetwater G13 IPA. It's a delicious beer. Shawn, tell us what kind of coffee you sipping on tonight, buddy.
Well, Paul, for those people who haven't seen the previous episode I was on or don't know anything about Jigs and Bigs, I am actually 8 days from today, 14 years sober. Okay. So, thank you. See, well, you need the applause. I'm used to the applause button by Bobby. You know what I mean? The applause.
Well, all I can give you is a real applause.
Not good enough. It's not good enough. I need the sound effect.
Bobby gives you the sound effects. I give you the real.
So, what I'm drinking is I'm drinking a cup of decaf coffee because it's getting towards 8:30 at night. I would like to sleep tonight. I have Ashlon coffee roasted for Three Bells Outfitters. It's their Sunset Paddle decaf, with a splash of milk, and more importantly, it's being drank out of a cup made from a print by Kari Townsend Art. Kari Townsend is an artist I followed, and then we lucked out and had a chance to meet her. My wife and I met her at Minnesota at an art show, and she does a lot of wildlife art. So if you want a coffee mug, you can get one from Kari Townsend Art, spelled Kari Townsend. Geez, TOWNSIND. God, I hope I spelled that right. Art. And you can get the coffee from Three Bells Outfitters. I'm done with my plugs, sir.
Well, if you spelled that shit right, can't nobody follow along because you had too many uhs and I spelled it right. Shit's in between. So anyway, we'll crack open the beer. Here's the thing. This is Bass and Brews Fishing Podcast. And it ain't just about beer drinking, even though that's the majority of what it is. But we can brew coffee, we can brew tea, we can brew beer. I mean, it's Bass and Brews. So whatever you like to partake in, we can partake. So we'll crack this one open. All right, good job. So we are running a little late because Alex fucking literally ended the whole broadcast before. And so we're running behind right now. It's almost 8:30. And just so y'all know, Shawn is the co-host of Jigs and Bigs with Bobby Roast Beef. I'm obviously the co-host of this podcast who's filling in as the real host. There's a reason we have co-hosts who were in charge. And if for the folks not listening, air quotes, it's because me and Mr. Shawn the Fisherman here can talk the ears off a billy goat. And so we're going to try to keep this within 12 to 18 hour podcast tonight. It might end up being a 20-part series podcast that shows on HBO.
Welcome to Game of Thrones fishing style. We're here.
So, but here we are, Shawn the Fisherman. Thanks for coming on again. Just for everybody, new listeners and old listeners, Alex is transitioning out to California for his last year in the Coast Guard. So I'll be taking over duties as head. And what we'll do is we'll have a special guest host as well as our special guest. But tonight, me and Shawn have been talking about this topic for a couple months now, I think. And the biggest thing was, how are we going to put it out? Was it through Jigs and Bigs? Was it through this? And it never made sense how to do it. But with Alex being gone, it made sense to be able to put it out this way. And we're talking about mindset. Mindset and fishing from the the competitive standpoint. And Shawn and I both are mainly kayak anglers, so we're coming at it from the kayak angling standpoint of mindset, mental preparation leading into a tournament. And this is where it sounds like we haven't talked about this before. We've had some back and forths through some chats and stuff like that on what we think, and I'm pretty sure we're very different, and so we're going to have some back and forth conversation on that. But what I want people to take from this is that your mindset is yours. Like what I say, what Shawn says is not gospel, but it's how you have to prepare yourself mentally, because this is the thing. You fish a bait a certain way because that's the way you fish the bait. Now, there are variations within that, but when it comes to mindset, that's something you have to figure out on your own. And what I want people to take from this episode is that me and Shawn are giving you probably, at least mine is an extreme. Mine's on an extreme version. And now Shawn's, I'm not sure where his is. His might be in the middle. It might be an extreme. I'm not sure. It's going to be very different from mine. But mine's an extreme. So it's just a way for y'all to mentally prepare, especially for your new kayak anglers that are getting into competition in the upcoming year, because we have a ton of people. I know a bunch personally, and just in general with the growth of kayak angling. I think next year is going to be a huge year for kayak anglers in their first year of competing. So, Shawn, real quick, give us an introduction of who you are real quick and kind of a background in your kayak angling history.
Yeah, my name's Shawn the Fisherman. I'm the co-host of the Jigs and Bigs podcast, which you can find on your local Spotify, Apple iTunes. What is it? Apple iCast? Whatever. I don't even use Apple. Whatever the fuck's on Apple. And it's on our website too.
Hold up. See, this is why we can't have old people on the fucking show. They're probably my Apple Tunes iCast.
I don't know what the fuck it is.
Exactly. I'm sorry, y'all. Jigs and Bigs on iTunes, Apple Podcast.
Apple Podcast. So,
right,
you know why I don't know that? Spotify. I use Spotify. I love Spotify. Fuck Apple products. Seriously. I got sick of them after iTunes version, like whatever, -1. I don't know. iTunes is a piece of shit. I hate it.
You also don't care because Bobby Roast Beef does all the work.
That is true, but it makes me care more because I don't want to let him down. I don't want to be the weakest link.
Oh, but look, Alex, I made him write out specific directions on how I make this shit actually happen.
And then he turned the fucking podcast on you. So how did that work out?
Look, I knew he taught me enough to get this bitch back on. So anyway, I'm sorry. Right. I'm sorry to interrupt Mr. Old Man Shawn. So
I am an old man Shawn. Yeah. So I've been fishing. Oh man, what am I? All right. So I've been fishing for about 31 or 32 years now, in a kayak for getting close to half of that. About 15 years I've been in a kayak. The past 3 years is where I've, since I retired from the military, I've upped my competitive angling, and I'm upping it again next year, just more tournaments, learning more, getting out there, seeing where I stand. And it's different every year. Hell, it's different every tournament. And luckily enough, throughout all the negatives of 2020 that this country saw, Bobby Roast Beef's an old friend of mine, and we got together and he started a podcast and was lucky. I'm lucky enough that he brought me on because we talk the same lingo, and we're definitely coming at fishing from two completely different angles, where he doesn't compete, or very rarely, and I'm full board into it, but man, it works for us. So Here I am on your show.
Our show.
Ready to talk. And you want me to tell everyone where this came from? Because there's some, we didn't talk about this stuff, but I did.
Yes, I do. But let me do it with this is that, so Alex this is how the dynamic works, right? So Alex brought me on. I bring kind of that competitive side angling on, because Alex doesn't care about that shit. Alex wants to go out and have a good time. He wants to just catch fish, make his YouTube videos and this and that. And like every time, I don't fun fish. When I go out fishing, I'm practicing. Like I'm doing something technical with a specific lure, specific technique, a mindset. I'm going to an area. Like I don't just go out to fish to be like, oh, I caught this and that. No, I go out for a reason. I don't fun fish. Like I don't, my fun fishing is winning, is catching fish, is competing. So in this so where Shawn and I fit in together is it's the same thing. So we have these co-hosts. But on a side note, y'all go listen to Jigs and Bigs. It's long form podcasting. It's your morning show, as Bailey from Serious Angler dubbed it. It's your morning show fishing. They have segments. They have tips. It's great. It's awesome. It's wonderful information. And make sure you go there, subscribe, and listen to their stuff because it's a good ass time. It was really a good ass time. All right, Shawn, tell us how this originated.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we were up in Minnesota this summer, and on the way back, I actually drove home alone to get home for, believe it or not, a tournament, my first saltwater tournament. So that was fun. And on the way home, I got to binge you and Alex, which thank God, oh God, I was going to make a really dark joke there. It made a long ride a lot longer. So,
oh shit. God damn it.
I'm just kidding. I was entertained.
Jigs and Bigs ain't got whiteboards. We got whiteboards on Bass and Brews.
I'm sorry. You were just accusing me of being an old ass man, and you've got a dry erase board. Noted. So, anyways, what?
It ain't chalk, oldie.
Chuck. How many fingers did you hold up? I couldn't count it without a fucking abacus. So on the way home, there was one podcast, and I have no idea which one it was. I really don't. I know I listened to, I think, 6 or 7 of you guys' episodes. I have no idea. It was catching up. And there was one where, you got fired up about the way you approach tournament fishing. And I was in my car going, no, Paul, you're going to have a coronary by the time you're, 40. Don't approach shit that way. I'm like, no. And then I remember sending you a text saying, we got a lot to talk about with your tournament approaches. And I when you said, the thing that stuck out was, and I felt this for a little while too.
I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
You said, when I'm out on the water and I'm fishing against you, meaning the field, I'm out to kill you. I'm out to beat you. I'm out to humble you. I'm like, holy shit, Paul, like there's a lot that's in your control and a lot that's not. And you're veering into the not control thing. And that's not a really healthy mindset, I don't feel. And I will say this, dude, I used to feel the same way. And then I pulled it back in and focused more on, instead of worrying, what's that? Oh, we got a dry erase board. Okay. So instead of worrying about anything else or the field, which we're going to talk about tonight pretty in depth, instead of worrying about the field, taking that energy and focusing on what's going on around you that you can use to your advantage, even if it does involve the field a little bit, that's where your energy should be going. And I know you played athletics at a high level, well, a lot higher than I ever did. And I see it. And I would get fired up those first few years where I started doing tournaments. Like, I'm going to go out and kick everybody's ass. And probably you the same way. I got humbled. And I refocused my energy and said, okay, what's the best way to do this? Let's not get super emotionally charged, and let's go into this and logically pick something apart without getting emotional.
Right. And so here's what's interesting is I think that, and I don't know this yet, but I'm thinking as this podcast goes along and knowing what I know and hearing Shawn talk on Jigs and Bigs and some of the interactions we've had, we have some similarities within preparation and mindset. Now, I think we have differing. We obviously have differing, but we have some similarities in the, I think the fishing approach, right? When it gets down to the fishing nitty gritty, what we're going to do to actually catch the fish, I think Shawn and I are very similar. The difference comes into our expectations and how we pump ourselves up and where we come from mentally before we actually throw the first fucking cast, before we put our boat in the water. And so what we'll start on this is, and this might change a little bit, but our number one thing on the Jigs and Bigs, Paul Hill's special, always got a whiteboard on hand, because you never know when I might need to draw some stick figures and some shitty fish. But it's
or a wiener.
What happened?
Or a wiener.
No, I don't draw wieners, because they're
why not?
Because
what's wrong with you?
Well, I always draw. They're always crooked wieners. Nobody wants to see a crooked wiener.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
All right,
draw it from the side, then you can't see the bend.
You know what?
Wiener profile.
Some people like that curve. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I made 2 babies. Apparently, mine's okay, a little bit crooked and short.
You had to do it from around a corner, though, right?
No, my wife loves me. I'm a regularly handsome human being.
No, I meant for the bend.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about now. We've gotten all the way off.
Yes, we did. So anyway, you're welcome.
All right, to bring this back in, God, look, y'all don't understand how Alex and Bobby Roast Beef bring us back in to where the show's supposed to go. So this could go a lot of different ways. It ain't going Lockwood ways, but it's might go ways. Anywho, so the first thing is managing expectations. And I want to start off with this because I think this is the biggest area where we differ. When it comes into mindset, when it comes in not to the preparation, not what we're doing, looking at maps and this and that. I think we're very similar on that. But it's that mindset on the way to the ramp. What's going through your head? On the way to the ramp, you get to the ramp and you put your boat in and you're sitting there waiting for blast off. What's going through your head? And the number one thing on here is I'm there to fucking win. That is my goal. It's not to catch a limit. It's not to finish in the top 10. My goal every time I show up is to win, because everything else, AOI, catching a limit, all that shit to me will happen if I win. So that's my mindset. And it comes from that competitive side of me. I grew up playing sports. The whole you and Shawn, you coach basketball, and I'm sure we'll get into this. But, you don't go into – so my mindset is – and I played on some pretty bad teams in high school. But as one of the leaders, the thing was we're going to win. Any given night, anybody can be beaten. And I've lived through a couple of those from in high school. I lived through a couple in college. But that's my mindset. I'm going to win. Nobody's going to beat me. I'm going to win. And if I want AOI, if I want this and that, if I want a limit, if I win, that shit happened. So that's the mindset going in. And I'll let Shawn go because I know there's going to be some rebuttal and some stuff that I have to talk through. But that's my mindset. I don't pay money to go fish a tournament that I don't believe I'm going to be able to win in. And that's, to me, that's the mindset I have going into it, because anything else just isn't successful.
So I guess how do you, well, I got questions for you on that. So you're not batting 1,000%. Nobody wins every tournament.
Never.
So how do you manage that mentally when you don't win? Because I think that expectation is too high. You know what I mean? I go out and there's honestly, I have 2 approaches to tournaments. Okay. There's every tournament I'm in, and then the exception is knockout tournaments that are one-on-one. Okay. Because then I do worry a little bit more about the other angler, but I don't let it permeate me too bad. I'm more aware of the clock, and I'm more aware of my surroundings. But, facing off against a good angler, I faced off against some nasty ones. I got to the final of this knockout that I'm in this year, and I had to go through a meat grinder to get there. It was no joke. And I actually feel extremely lucky that I got through my second round matchup because it's literally one of the, if not the best angler in the country out of a kayak. And I survived that because I got two. It was Derek Brundle. I got two big fish with 45 minutes left. And to say I went in there saying I was going to win mentally, no, I was going to go out there and I had a number that I felt could win. Could. And I got to that number with the first trophy fish and went past it with the second one with 45 minutes left. So like I did not I think there's always the difference between you and I is you're thinking you're going to win. I always think I have a chance, but there's so many variables that could derail you. For me, if I manage those expectations and I say, okay, I have a chance. And then as the time goes through the tournament, those things that define my success are going to become more of a probability or less of a probability. You know what I mean? Like, so in generally in any tournament I fish, you're going to have whatever places are, could be 1 through 3, could be 1 through 5, right? The number of those. I always like to place. I think that's a good idea. You know, that's definitely a good goal. But right off the bat, first thing, get a fish. Right off the bat, second goal is get a limit. Third thing is start culling if I need to. Then, you know, as variables come and go, we always do, you know, aside from the placement and the lunker bass, we'll always have, I mean, almost always, we'll have a lunker pickerel or a lunker pike pool, depending on what's in the water that we're fishing. So that's always viable too. But like, I kind of look at it more, and this is from my gaming background because I do play a lot of video games as well. And I know that's sacrilege to a lot of people that are outdoorsmen, but I play fishing games.
Play video games, Shawn?
Absolutely not. Keeps your mind sharp. Seriously, some of them do. Hand-eye coordination, man. It's there. So
that's a different conversation because I could talk about some video gaming back in my days for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm playing retro. I'm playing retro games and I'm playing retro fishing games as well. I mean, it's just it keeps you sharp. But the point is, like with a lot of games, you know, there's side quests. So yeah, you want to beat the bad, you know, you want to beat like Legend of Zelda, you want to beat Ganon, but there's all these little side things you got to do that help you along the way. So that's kind of how I look at tournament fishing is you've got the main goal, which that's winning. You're going to get there eventually, or you hope to, but you got all these little side quests on the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you, the first thing I bring up, little side story is you brought up Derek Brundle and probably a lot of people listen to this podcast and, you know, anybody that tournament fishes knows who Derek Brundle is. He has been a mainstay on KBF. He's one of the top Northeast anglers in the country. Him and Matthew Conant fish together. You know, they're two people well known. So me and a buddy here down in North Carolina, Justin Faircloth, we paired together to fish against them in the KBBT. KBBT. And when they go through and they run through, it's just like you know, the basketball bracket. So they run through it. Everybody goes. We probably had we were the last segment in looking at the pairings, and we probably had the shortest. Oh my God, who? Oh yeah, Conant this, and nobody gave us a chance. And in the Hoodlums chat, I said, "Hey, we're fishing against, you know, Brundle and Conant," and everybody's like, "Oh," everybody knew that talked about competitive fishing. Like, "Oh, you don't have a chance. You don't have a chance." Look, man, it's a 2-day tournament. Me and Justin took them down. We lost in the last 30 minutes.
Where were you guys? You guys were fishing in Carolina and they were fishing in Massachusetts, right?
Right.
So think about that.
We fished Justin and I on the same. So we had a local tournament we fished on Saturday. And then we fished another body of water on Sunday. And so here's how it went is that they called, I think it was Conant. I might be wrong. One of them caught a bass in the last 30 minutes that ended up beating us. During that same time frame, Justin lost a bass that would have had us win it. So when it comes down to, and you look at sports, and if you follow any kind of sport, anybody can be beaten on any given day. You take football. South Carolina beat Alabama in like 2010 or 2011. No, the odds were unbelievable. It happens in March Madness every year. And so that's the kind of story. The people you fish against do not get the credit outside of competitive bass fishing in these main circuits. But damn, y'all catch some fucking fish up there. So outside of that was kind of my little tangent. The first one, you were going to ask me a question of how I handled that when it didn't happen. What was your question going to be? Because you
we got on a tangent, but if you're going out to win every time, like, I mean, I'm obviously playing to win. Like I fish at one level, just like you do. I go out and I'm cutting up the water. I'm doing the same thing, making adjustments as needed. Yeah, we're fishing. Even if I'm out by myself, I mean, generally I'm in a tournament, whether it's a monthly or not, from April Fool's Day to Halloween. All right. So I am always in that mode. I'm always trying to find those fish and get those fish on the board. But I understand that I'm not going to win every one. So how do you deal with that? Like, I mean, that just seemed like a really like a mental burden you're putting on yourself. And I was almost worried. I'm like, how do you deal with it?
Dude, so yes, it is. And it takes a mindset. It takes somebody to realize their limitations to have that mindset of I'm going to win every time. Because in kayak fishing tournaments, it's your chance of winning is less than the chance of a hit in baseball. You know, you can be a 300 hitter in baseball and make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You're batting in the 100s, 0.100s in fishing when it comes to winning.
Well, winning or placing, again, that.
Well, no, we're talking about winning.
Straight up winning is, yeah.
You're talking about, a less than 10% chance you win every tournament you're in. So the mindset so where I go from that is like, I have to go into a tournament with the mindset I'm going to win. Now, tournament's over. I don't win. I'm not in top 20. I have a shitty tournament. This past weekend, I had a fucking terrible day. I couldn't fish all day. Had to leave early. Didn't get catching fish. Didn't get a bite. Like it could not have been worse. I didn't even catch a fish small enough not to enter. Right. So my mindset going into that tournament was that. But what I take out of that is this is how I compartmentalize when I don't win. I come from that tournament. I was like, what? Locally, I know how guys fish. I talk to them. I know what they're doing. So I come in, I'm like, what were they doing that I wasn't?
So right off the bat, let me interrupt you. How much do you trust them? That's the question. How honest do you think they're being?
I know how they fish. So we're not talking about bait or specific areas. We're talking about who they are as anglers. Like, are they power fishermen or are they finesse anglers, right? That's where I come at. So what were they doing? Where were they? So from that aspect, I trust what they're saying because I know how they're fishing. So, a couple guys were telling me they were up on the bank catching them on jackhammers and they won the tournament. And it's a specific game. I'm like, that's probably not what happened. But if I know where they put in, I can gauge where they were from how they fished. Now that's not everybody. It's my first year fishing around these guys. But what I take from every tournament I don't win is a learning experience. Like, where did I fall short? And when you do that, so I just started tournament angling from a kayak in February of this year. So I start to take that, and I'm like, where did I fall short? So we come to September of 2021. I'm able to look at how people caught fish, how they won, how they finished. And I start to break that down. Where's my deficiency? Because when I fish, I know what I did that day. I break that down. I'm like, where did those top anglers finish? And what did I do wrong? So I break that down like I want to win every tournament. Because you never know when you might luck into 5 3-pound fish hitting top water in 200 feet. You never know when you're going to get that. You have to have that mentality. Otherwise, you're going to fish. You're just going to be, oh shit, blah, blah. You have to have, I'm going to win that mentality. That's what I think. If it doesn't happen, where did I fuck up? That's how I take it back around. But look, that shit ain't easy. When you think about it, when you say my mentality is I'm going to win every tournament, you win less than 10%. You probably less, honestly, in this area, you go to the hammers and they probably win less than 2% of the tournaments. But I take it as, where did I fuck up? How did I mess up? Where are the places I can improve? And so it's a learning experience to me. But this is the thing that I would say when I listen to tournament anglers that differs from me. If I'm trying to catch 5 fish, or if I'm trying to catch a limit, or if I'm trying to catch the biggest fish, like I choose an area I think, and I fish the way that I think is going to get me to win. So I'm not gonna change that. Like, I'm fishing to win. I'm not going to look at the scoreboard at 12 o'clock and be like, oh, fuck. I got to run back every. Like, I went to this area because I thought I could win. So,
all right, I get it. I don't approach it that way. I approach it as, I'm in a tournament. Here I am. Let's see what I can do, because there's a million variables. Like, I'm just gonna throw this out there. I mean, most people that listen to the show know that there's a technique that I hate that I just won't use. It doesn't fit me. It's like Shaquille O'Neal shooting fucking free throws. I don't drop shot. I will never drop shot. All right. There are extremely extenuating circumstances where I'll slap a drop shot on, and it's not that I can't. I just don't like the technique, and I haven't had the results with it that give me confidence, so I don't use it. All right. I know it works for other people. That's great. I do things that other people don't do that they can't get to work. I get it. I play to my strengths. But what I do is I go out and say, here's the tools that I feel confident with, whether it's finesse or power. And I go out there and say, let's see what can happen. I don't ever say I'm going to win this, because there's so many things I can't control. So many. I'm not trying any less, I'm not putting any less effort in. But my mindset is, okay, we're in a brave new world here. Even though I pre-fished this lake 2 days ago, we don't know what'll happen, and I fished an EKF, an elite kayak fishing event up at Winnipesaukee. I've never fished Winnipesaukee before. It's a big lake in New Hampshire. Again, I went in there with the mindset of, okay, I have no expectations. Let's see what can happen here. And the fish were really, really tough to come by in anything shallow, actually anything shallower than like 30 feet. The winners all drop shotted 40 to 100 feet. And I'm not doing that straight up because they were in shipping lanes. They were going, I'm not shitting you. That's how big that lake is. There were fucking ferries with cars on it going by and laying on the horn so that these guys would get out of the way, but they're spot locking and they were drop shotting 70 to 100 feet of water. I'm not doing that. I put my money in for that tournament. I did not expect that. It was something outside of my control. I am not fucking drop shotting. They can have my money on that one. I'll be back the next one with the same mindset of here's a new body of water, or here's a water I'm familiar with. What's going to happen today? And that's where I'll take my notes and go, okay, next time I come back here, I did this, I did that. Let's either continue on that plan or try something different.
So, and I think this mindset comes from if you take the national circuits, BSS, KBF, Hobie BOS, you have to, I think all of those, I could be wrong, but I think all of those, it's your top 3 finishes, right? So
depends.
Yeah. So you go into those, and let's say all you can fish is 3. Or let's take the EKF, or what's it called? Elite Kayak.
Yep, elite kayak fishing. That's a northeastern regional trail.
So that's regional. All American is a regional
in the Midwest, right?
Midwest. So you take that, what is your goal out of that? Is it to make the TOC?
Well, no. I fished one event. All right, I was unable. My schedule did not allow me to fish more than one event, so I was not making the championship unless I finished top 5 or 10, whatever the ruling was.
So if you knew this is exactly where I'm getting at. So if you knew you're going to fish one EKF event, and you know the competition you're going against, you're not. This isn't I don't want this isn't an AOI but top 10. Either I win to make it to the championship, or I win to get my money back plus some. Why would your mentality not be to go in and win? Why would you not do whatever you had to do to win? Why would you not go fish in an area you knew you could catch 100 inches or nothing? If you have one shot, why wouldn't you go and shoot your shot at that area? The mentality to me is that's it. To me, every tournament I fish is the last tournament I fish.
Yeah, see, it's not. I'm older and I have longer vision than you for the future.
But you just said the EKF was the last tournament. That was the only one, the only chance you had.
Yeah, and it wasn't my last fucking tournament. I wasn't going out in front of goddamn ferries and dying. Dude, you don't understand. I don't know what kind of rec lakes you have down there, but people aren't sober up here when they're on fucking rec lakes and rec boats, all right? No, I stayed in the shallows, and I went to bat with that. Plus we had storms moving in, dude. I value my life a lot more than I do an entry fee for a fucking tournament. I'll tell you that right now.
All right, hold up. So you don't have a good life insurance policy, and your wife would kill you if you died. She would double kill you.
No. If I die fishing, that means I can't fish again.
You're right. But let's take out the ferry shit, all that. You're in a lake where it's only kayaks. Does that mentality, you fish one EKF event, and that event is you win and make money and move on to the championship at the end of the year, or you don't? You outside everything else, what does your mindset change? Are you going to fish for just 5 fish? Or are you going to fish for the biggest 5 fish you can find?
I am, but I'm also playing to my strengths. You played D1 football, right? What position did you play? Linebacker and punter?
Well, punter on the scout team as a linebacker. But yeah.
Okay, so you play punter, right? At what point did you say to your coach during the middle of a game or right before a game when you were up against another ACC powerhouse? If you were up against Clemson's in the ACC, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so when you guys were getting ready and you're warming up against Clemson, did you say, fuck it, coach, I got to win, put me in at quarterback today? Because that's not your strength. If you want to practice a quarterback for a while and maybe you get good at it, that's great. Drop shotting 100 feet of water is not my strength. I caught fish that day. I caught quality fish, but it wasn't enough to go over that top, and I'm okay with that.
Okay, so now we're getting into the mindset, right?
Yeah.
It's the mindset of what do I want to achieve. Now, this might seem weird, but I'm not a goal person because I think when you make goals, a lot of people have short-term, long-term goals, but every hour of every day, things change that change those goals. So you have to be more fluid than I think most people make their goals to be. So, but why would you? This is what I don't understand, Shawn. Like, this is what I want you to tell me. If you knew, let's say you signed up for the EKF, well, last minute, Thursday night at 11:59. So you know what the weather's going to be. You've probably, let's say you've pre-fished. You know what water level's going to be. Let's just say you have a common knowledge of what's going on out there. And at 11:50, you enter in that tournament. What, like, explain to me or help me understand why your only thought wouldn't be to win that tournament.
It was.
Okay.
There's
Great.
no other way. There's no other way to fish. You're saying you're setting a goal. You said I don't set goals, but your goal is to win the tournament.
Right.
My goal is a ladder. Catch one fish, catch a limit, keep going up the ladder. It's every time I go out. Just like when you're behind the center, you line up, you're probably doing a count to make sure you got 11 on the field, right? The punter does that. I'm guessing. I don't know, whatever. I'm making up procedures because I never played fucking football. But whatever you do, you're counting. All right, we got 11 guys on the field. We're not going to get tanked for 12, right? And you're making sure you got 11, so you got your proper blocking. Okay, we got 11. I'm number 11 on the count. Snap the ball, 2 steps, punt. I don't know if you're one of those little hop skip punters like I am. I played soccer, so I got yelled at for that because I learned to punt from NFL punters in the 80s. So I have that. I come off the ground. You know what I mean? But soccer coaches didn't like that back in the 80s and 90s. But that's, you have your procedure and you go through it. At that point, are you upset if every kick isn't 75 yards and drops at the 2 and stays there? Are you?
Well, upset. I'm like, fuck yeah. If I know that's what I can achieve, you're damn right.
Well, what happens when the gust of wind comes? What happens when the gust of wind comes in the midair? All of a sudden, it's been gusty all day, but it calmed down. As the ball leaves your foot, you get a crosswind that's 25 miles an hour and kills the punt. Are you now completely, drained because that wasn't your goal? Or are you saying I'll be back for the next one?
No, well, hell yeah, I'm coming back for next one. But let's take something and so this is where we start to agree, because we've taken that mindset down from winning every tournament, winning every time we go out, to now kind of talking semantics. But take a free throw, basketball. You coach basketball.
Yeah.
You have a player that has makes 95% of their free throws. So what is that? Like 1 out of every 95 they miss, whatever the math is.
19. It's 19 out of 20.
Okay, so 19 out of 20. So let's say that your best player is on the line for 2 free throws to win the game, and it is their 19th and 20th shot at the free throw line, and you know that because you're a good coach. Like that it's the same thing. That player is sitting there. That player ain't going. That player's not doing the math. They're not blowing. Oh shit! This is my 20th free throw this game, or my 20th free throw of the last 2 or 3 games. They're going. I shoot 95 fucking %. I'm gonna make that motherfucker.
No, see that's where you're wrong.
It's the mindset, dude. No, I was an all-region basketball player.
You ever take a statistics course in college?
Oh fuck no! I couldn't math retard. I couldn't.
It's not
math.
That 95% is reflective of the past. Your percentage for hitting that shot is 50-50.
Okay, but what are athletes think? The athletes that think they're walking up to hit that free throw and saying, "Fuck, I'm gonna miss this motherfucker. I gotta get ready to rebound my own shot." Like,
That's
And
different.
but it's the mindset, right? But that's the difference. I think that's what we get into from the people that are fun fishing, where they're like, oh shit, I don't give a shit if I get a bite, or I don't care if this fish jumps off. You know, that's the difference. Me and you go fishing, and like if we're out there fishing for 2 hours on a Sunday, like if a fish jumps off, we're fucking pissed.
Well, it usually costs us money.
Right. But it didn't cost us money on that Sunday. Like that's the mindset attitude for me.
Well, see, that's where you're wrong. It does cost me money because if it's between April 1st and Halloween, I'm in a tournament. I'm in every day.
Me too.
So yeah, I do get pissed off. But I also understand but that's not going into it. That's going into it. I'm looking at there's so many variables that you don't know yet. So instead of wasting my time thinking I'm going to win or I'm going to get pissed off if I don't win, I'm trying to devote all my energy to what is happening under the water. What am I seeing in nature that's going to give me a clue as to what these fish are doing, and how can I catch them, and how can I catch the biggest I can possibly catch that day? You don't know what they're going to do. You don't know. I mean, this is going to spill into our second topic a little bit, but like with competitors, like when you said, I'm going out to beat your ass and I'm going out to kill you, they have nothing to do with it. Nothing.
Right. And
unless they're sitting in your boat lighting off fucking M80s or dynamite, they're not, or somebody is causing a problem, in which case you go to the director and say, look, this guy broke this etiquette, or this guy was breaking this rule, and you know, some way, shape, or form that'll be taken care of for future tournaments. And that shit does happen.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we're out there on our own fighting against nature, and it's how well you do that reading.
Yeah.
How that reading goes is going to determine how you finish, whether it's before and you pick a spot on a map, or it's during and you make an adjustment, say either that spot's not working or the fish are doing something different, or you name the variable, name it.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm focused on. I'm not worried about winning or losing. It's focusing on reading those variables to do the best I can. You know, like I throw this out, and God forbid he listens to this podcast, but like if Derek, like that instance with Derek Brundle, when I fished one with him, the scenario was I was coming off day 3 of my second COVID vax shot, and my body was racked with pain. That was awful. That second shot, if anybody's got the Moderna that's listening to that, they probably went through the same shit I did. It was horrible. You got the Moderna? Yeah. Did it suck? The second one sucked.
It didn't suck, but I'm also like 38 to 45 years younger than you.
Oh, that's nice. So you're newborn. Great. Good. That's really nice.
It was, you know, I had some side effects, yes, but I understand where you're coming from.
I was physically having some issues with, honestly, the left side of my body was fucking shitty. So that day, I don't know what the fuck, possibly with that shit, who knows? But I went out there saying I have to face Derek Brundle, but it's at a lake we both agreed on. What? Okay, you're going to get a beer. I'll keep talking. You want me to stop talking? You want me to hum some music? You're listening. I'm talking to an empty fucking chair here, folks. This is what you get, the quality of Bass and Brews. When's Swamp Rat coming back? This sucks. I don't want to talk to a chair. I want to talk to him. Hey, Paul, why are you going all the way back there? There's a fridge behind you. He's going to the bathroom, isn't he? This is dead air. I agreed to this, folks. This is great.
Do you not hear me?
Did you go pee?
I had my earphone in. I said it had to go tinkle. You didn't hear me talking to you?
No, I didn't. Hey, let me give you a tip from us. Let me give you a tip from us old men, okay? You can go to your local hunting and fishing store and buy a piss bottle that you can actually do that in your chair and nobody will see you. I'll even see you wink at me. That'd be funny. You're peeing. Haha. So listen. So when going into that matchup, right? I had no expectation to win against Derek. And I told Nelson, who's a close compadre, lifelong friend, I was like, I've fished this lake before. I think it's going to take 54 inches out of 3 fish to win, which would be 3 18 inchers.
Yeah.
That lake has a reputation for spitting out 17s and 18s. And I figured If I'm lucky, he'll do 54 inches. Like if I'm lucky, if he doesn't catch any giants, which occasionally he'll spit out a 19 or a 20, but if I'm lucky. So I needed that. By 7:30 in the morning, my prop was clogged so bad in one end of the pond because the weeds were up and the water was down. It was before all the torrential rains we got. I had to paddle back and my rudder took a shit. I couldn't control my boat. I had to paddle back to the launch. There's a deeper section at the beginning of this lake. I paddled back and I was now confined to that section of the lake. And I lost an hour fixing my rudder. So right off the bat, I've given the best fucking angler, one of the best anglers in the country, a fucking hour.
Top two.
Right? Yeah. I've given him an hour and he, by 7:30 in the morning, when I was paddling back, I said 54. He had 53 and a half on the board. Another bit of luck. The conditions changed with an hour left. I got close. I got up to 40 something odd inches. I got close enough within striking distance. I think it was at 48 when the conditions changed. I was paying attention to that and not worrying about the scoreboard. And I changed what I was doing to match those conditions. The rain came down and I went to a lure instead of a plastic. I went to a lure with a lot of vibration that I could throw through some weeds. And it paid off. And I got a 19 and a 20 plus. And it was lucky. Like it was lucky. Plus I was paying attention to what was going on. You know what I mean?
So side tangent. And this is when you and I joked texting about this shit going long and getting on, this and that. This is a side note that I'll say, and I want to discuss this later. We can't discuss it now. But when people make, I made a change going from fishing from shallow to deep to this lure, and I won it. And if I hadn't have made that change, I wouldn't have won it. Or, man, I left this spot and lost it. If I hadn't have left this spot, I hadn't have lost it. Like, from a fishing perspective, from a reality perspective, you don't know that. If you didn't go do it, you don't know if you'd have won or lost it. If you did something and won it, you don't know what could have been. You left where you were. And this is really hard for me to articulate. Like, I've been thinking about this a lot because you hear anglers in competitive situations talking about, I made this decision to leave to go to this spot, and that's why I won it. Or you say, I knew they were going to bite this. I just had to wait on them, and I stayed. But how many times have you stayed and then not bite? More often than not. How many times have you left and not gotten that winning bite? More often than not. And what I'll allude this to are chickens. Chickens raised in a chicken house. All right. So you got these big ass long barns where chickens are raised from eggs all the way up to the time they slaughtered. If you let that chicken out, that bitch is going to die within a day. It has no idea how to survive without food given to it. It does not know what freedom is. And so you look at that, like the decisions you make, they're not necessarily anecdotal. You can't make, I made a decision and won, because you've probably made that same decision 100 times and lost.
Where are we going with this?
I don't know. Like, it's hard to talk about.
Look, I mean,
like, if you're saying you made the decision to go to this particular bait because of the weather. So first, you made the decision to go to this particular bait because of the weather. That's wisdom. Like, that's not knowledge. That's wisdom.
I get it. Here's where the luck. If you're worried about the term luck, if that's what is setting you off on this, here's where the luck came in. I fished that place, I don't know, 20 times over the years, maybe 15. The two fish that I caught when that weather changed, the 19 and the 20, were the two biggest I've ever pulled out of there at that moment. So yeah, I'd like to attribute a little bit of that to luck. That's never happened. That's freakish.
But you made that change based off of wisdom, knowledge, past experience to just catch a fish.
Yeah.
Like, what's my best possibility for catching a fish in this time and moment? Oh,
Yeah, but the fact
I would-
that they were over 18 is what I'm attributing. Like I've never seen fish of that size come out of there,
but
especially with the techniques I'm using.
I would tell you that it doesn't matter the size of the fish, is that you knew what to throw at that specific time and the area to throw it in to catch a fish.
Yeah,
Like
so
most
that's what
anglers,
competitive anglers do.
yeah,
But
right. But most anglers aren't going to go, oh shit, the wind's blowing 5 miles an hour across this point, and at 8 foot, I know if I throw this spinnerbait with 4 blades and this white skirt, I'm going to catch 2 6-pounders to win this. They don't know that. The only thing that they know is that with the wind blowing across this point, this particular spinnerbait in this area will catch fish. That's what they know.
Or they're hoping, or they believe that it will happen. And then
they know that the fish should be there.
Correct. And then it's a matter of figuring out what they want to hit. But the bottom line was I'm attributing luck to I'd never seen fish that size come out of there. I've seen plenty of 17s and 18s. All of a sudden there's a 19 and 20. Why are you what? I'm very confused.
I'll tell you this. You cannot win a tournament. You cannot catch fish where fish ain't. The number one thing to catching fish is to fishing where the fish are.
I agree with you. That is a skill, but what separates your ability to distinguish that a 20 under the water and an 18 are going to hit? What are you saying? Well, no, I'm only going to this spot because there's 20s, not 18s. Nobody knows that. Nobody.
You're right. I will say this. We didn't know that 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But now with the technology we have, people who fish enough can look at a fish on their live scope or what they can understand the size of the fish. So it's changed.
Not at this place. You can take that place right out of the equation. It's so choked.
Right. We're talking in general.
Yeah.
You can, to answer your question, you can take somebody that is a live scope expert. They can see a fish and they can see the size of that fish and they can determine if that fish is going to bite. There are professionals who can do that. But as an average kayak angler, if you put yourself in a position to catch a fish where the biggest fish are, you're going to win. You did that. I don't think that's.
But remember, I didn't. Well, no. The fish size is the luck. You have to remember, my game plan was to go fish the back half of this water. That was physically impossible. Right off the bat, my game plan has an X through it. Now I'm left with the other half, and I have to pay attention to everything that's going on.
So hey, this is a good segue. We're going to skip number 2 and come back to it last, because number 3, what we talked about was what were our plans going in, and then how did that change throughout the day? Because I think that's important. Because what you're talking about right now, I had a plan going in, and most of us competitive anglers, we've looked at we've looked at Google Earth, we looked at all that shit. We have a plan going in. But unless you've been on that water day in and day out, and listen, it's 75 degrees, no wind, sunny. Day of fishing, it's 85 degrees, 30-mile-per-hour winds out of the east, right? Shit changes like that with the weather. So this is a good segue into what we planned to what happened. So go into that.
On that day?
Yeah, so you were going into that. You were saying, I had a plan to fish this body of water this way, but I ended up changing because of the weather.
No, I ended up changing because the whole back end was so clogged with weeds, I couldn't use my pedal drive, and my body was too sore to paddle through that shit.
Okay.
And my rudder broke, so when I actually lost that time, went and fixed the fucking rudder, and I told this story on the show, but while I was fixing it, a very nice couple that was doing a little recreational paddling came to the launch and like, oh, that's a really nice kayak. And I was just so pissed off. I snapped at him. I'm like, yeah, when it fucking works, went back to fixing the goddamn thing. But No, I like this wraps up into a lot. I mean, this really gets tied up into a lot of stuff we've talked about on the show where, you know, God, I don't want to say this word. It comes back to the advantage conversation, which I don't know if you remember that fucking shit show. But like
Yes.
there was talk of, do you have an advantage if you're in a pedal kayak versus a paddle kayak? Do you have an advantage if you're in a power versus pedal?
Yeah.
So right off the bat, I was in the position where that maneuverability was taken away from me and I had to think on my feet. And now my scope, because again, I'm not worried about what he was doing. I mean, I was a little bit, but I knew I still had my goal of 54. I would check and see if he went over it every now and again, but he stayed at 53 and a half the whole day. Right. That's out of my control. And he said, when I got back to the launch and talked to him, he told me he caught like 50 bass, just no, the upgrades didn't come. You know what I mean? It just didn't. So I out of my own. I mean, this was out of my hands. I did not choose to fish that part of the water for the whole day that I fished. I was forced into it because of circumstances that I was paying attention to. I could have easily fucking paddled back out there. You know what I mean? Or I would have been miserable, but I could have done it and I probably would have lost. I was forced into that half of the lake and I made the best out of it with the knowledge I have and the expectations low. You know what I mean? Just do what I got to do. Keep upgrading. That's the steadiness. You know, you think like, I don't know who to compare this to as an athlete. I mean, what athlete goes out and says, well, you know, we're just going to go out and we're going to do it. We're going to see what happens. I mean, I know the Patriots are hated around the country. I'm not really a football fan, but you know, they don't ever make promises. They're just like, we're going to go out, we're going to play the game. We're going to hope that our kickers kick and our fucking throwers throw and our runners run and our defenses.
So
you know,
this is so guys, this is kind of where we differentiate because he's saying it's luck because this shit broke and he fucking didn't have time.
No, God damn it, Paul, stop. I'm saying it's luck because the only luck I encountered was that I caught a 19 and a 20 instead of another 17 and an 18. I've caught fish in that part before.
Because you knew the big.
I went there because I had no choice. My fucking boat broke. I couldn't fish where I wanted to fish.
But
I could not
there because you caught fish before, right?
Yeah, but 17s and 18s, not a 19 and a 20. That was a surprise. Hello, I didn't know they would be over here.
Could you have gone to the bank and caught 15 and 14s all fucking day long?
That place, no, would have been 17s and 18s. That place is notorious for 17. I have problems catching small fish there, which is a bad problem to have.
First of all, that's a fucking great ass lake. The smallest I can catch 17s. That's fucking awesome. But here's my thing is, all right, look, here's what I'm saying. So you're saying the luck was the size of the fish.
Correct.
All right. Let's go back to the beginning where you say we can only control certain things.
Correct.
So we can only control where we fish and how we fish, right?
Correct.
Right. So, but you went to an area that you knew had fish. And to me, and look, personal example, I have gone to fish areas I thought had big fish because I was in a position to win the tournament instead of going to a place that I knew had fish.
Let me make this a little clearer for you. The body of water that we fished was like 250 to 300 acres. It's a small pond.
So,
I lost probably 3/4 of that. I was confined to an area smaller than a football field, and I'm not exaggerating, because of the weed growth and because my kayak was having problems. I just covered that area over and over again. It was a small circle. It was less than a football field. It was probably half the size of a football field.
Did you think fish were in that area?
It doesn't matter. I couldn't go anywhere else for 6 hours.
You just said you could have. It would have sucked.
Oh yeah. Well, no. It would have been physically improbable, if not impossible. But yeah, sure. I could have been screaming and paddling my way through a bunch of shit. I was confined to an area that allowed me to fish, and I did. I made the most out of it.
would you have paddled to that area that would have been improbable with the guess that it might not have worked if it was for $1 million? Would have you gone up there to fish that area for $1 million?
What? That's ridiculous. I probably not. Because again, listen.
Your ass up there,
so
if you lost that $1 million because you
so listen,
get back in time.
Listen.
Up there and
that hydrilla was so bad; it was up to the surface. I couldn't pedal. I could barely paddle, and my whole plan and the success I've had at this place was to run a certain kind of lure that I couldn't run there. Yeah. It was done. My game plan was the big fucking X right at 7:30 in the morning or 6 in the morning, whenever the shit storm started.
Did you win?
I did. I won that round, yes.
But you also threw the right bait
at the right time in the area I was confined to. Don't say it was the area I chose.
Right.
The area I was confined to.
But you looked at the area that you had to fish. You were knowledgeable enough of the fish in that area to say, hey, I ain't throwing a spook through this shit. I'm not throwing a swim jig through this. I'm throwing this. And you won. So there's a lot of knowledge that I think anglers don't put into it. They like there's a luck aspect of fishing, yes. This is a great example. I can catch 17, 18-inch fish off this spot every day of the week. This day, I went there because I had to, because I couldn't go anywhere else. I threw this bait. I caught 19 and 20s and won the tournament. Is there luck in that? Yeah, but your competitor was also fishing in the same exact fucking conditions.
Yeah.
So there's the luck in that is being at the right place at the right time.
Correct.
But you can't be at the right place at the right. Anglers are in the wrong place at the wrong time 99% of the time than they are at the right. And you can go through and look at the kayak angling, Tourney X and Fishing Chaos and look, and I can guarantee you the percentage is probably about 98% of the anglers are in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's why they ain't catch fish, and I've been a part of that.
But the thing is, when I see that,
wait, I will tell you, somebody like Derek Brundle, Russ Snyders. I mean, we can go down the line of these professional. Or
you're putting me in some royal company there. Why don't let's be a little realistic?
Tournament you're talking about, Shawn?
Yeah. Again, that's like saying, hey, I went up against a major league pitcher. He struck me out 45 times, but I got one hit. That ain't getting me the Hall of Fame, bro.
But you fish with these guys, and you have finished above them in other tournaments.
And most of the time, they finish above me.
Great.
Just saying.
We're not. But all right, this is going to be a segue in a minute into competition. But look, when we get to the luck standpoint, there's luck involved. There's the 100%. There's luck involved, but there's not luck involved with you going, fuck, I can only fish this area of the lake. And I have two lures I can fish here. I know this. I can fish this lure or this lure. You fish one or you fish both, it doesn't matter. But you can only fish this section of lake because my fucking shit's fucked up. I'm fishing these two lures. That is boat. That ain't fucking luck.
No, again, it's not. I expected to catch fish with those lures. That's not luck.
Yeah.
The luck came in because I didn't expect a 19 and a fucking 20 and a half. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way for any angler to say, like, my statistics and my record that I keep, for everybody again who doesn't listen to the show, I've kept a database for my own fishing for 12 years. Every fish, smallest bluegill, biggest northern pike, every fish, just to whittle down the lures that work for me. If I've been using a lure for 2 years and I've only caught 12 to 14-inch bass on it, but hundreds of them, I might keep that lure around just in case as a kitchen sink. But chances are, if I'm not starting a tournament with it, You know what I mean? Like I don't know, make something up. I always use the example of the old the
Beetle
Zoom
skin.
the Zoom baby brush hog is a great example. Like I
Yeah.
found ways to use it and catch fish with it, but I don't start my day with it. That's like, okay, I'm in some trouble here. I need to fucking readjust. Like, let's try that. But that's just an example. The bottom line is nothing. I had nothing that told me that what I was doing at any point in any number of conditions would turn up those two fish of that size
But
at
you
that
knew
moment.
what you were doing was going to get you 17 to 18 inches.
What I felt was I could hang and possibly make a run and keep it close.
And
But
then
those two fish were beyond my expectations. Beyond.
Look, so we are in the. You remember the movie Con Air?
I do. Unfortunately, I do.
Oh my God! It's one of my favorite movies ever.
Sorry to hear that. You have horrible taste.
Do you remember the little part with Buscemi and what's his name talking about semantics? I think that's where we are right now. We're in an impasse because I'm telling you, you made a decision that won you that tournament, even though that wasn't what you were expecting. But if you had done something differently because you weren't expecting that, you wouldn't have won it.
I get that. I get that. But what I'm saying is you're making it seem like I'm calling my shot on those two fish, and I was absolutely not.
No, I'm not trying to make it sound like Shawn the Fisherman was a god. He wasn't Zeus saying, motherfuckers, I'm about to catch a 19 and a 20 and a half on this spot because it's just a perfect day. No. What I'm saying is Shawn the Fisherman's ship broke on his kayak, and Shawn the Fisherman got put in a position where he had to say, all right, this is the structure, this is the cover, and this is the weather I have to fish. What gives me the best chance to catch a fish?
Yes, and this is the perfect segue into that's why I'm not worried about who I'm competing with. They're doing their own thing, and I can't. No. Number 2, competitors. That's number 3. Oh, you're erasing number 3
by accident because I'm not good at this whiteboard. I'm not a teacher like you, Shawn. Fuck off.
Now I'm a fucking teacher. That's why I don't worry about what competitors are doing because I learned a long time ago. You know, like great example. When I first started really tournament fishing, this is 10 years ago, a buddy of mine bought a bass boat. And we would fish at an extremely highly pressured lake that's near us. But as far as tournament goes in Massachusetts, as soon as this thing ices out until ice up, it has tournaments. And it's usually 4 to 5 a week. And it's big boats. I don't know how many acres, 1,500, 1,200.
Oh my gosh, a goddamn pond.
It gets smashed. Jeez. We don't the biggest lake in Massachusetts, we actually can't fish for tournaments. You can fish it. You have to rent boats from there. It's Boston's water supply. They don't fuck around with it. Like when 9/11 happened, the place got completely closed and there were armed patrols around it for months.
So what you're saying is the next hoodlums competition ain't gonna be in that lake.
No. Well, they could do it, but it would be unannounced. I mean, it wouldn't be a. Yeah, but anyways, there's a couple of bodies of water out here that get hammered to the point where it's how many tournaments there are is a joke. And if you're catching fish out of there, you can catch fish under pressured conditions. And that's why I think, this is a tangent, but that's why I think a lot of times when Northeast anglers go out into the rest of the world and go to these tournaments, whether it's KBF or Hobie or whatever, that are not Northeastern, and then they do well, it's because you're fishing water that is so tight and you get to these bigger bodies of water and it's like, hello, there's fish out here that'll actually hit shit. You know what I mean? Even if they are Southern strain largemouth, Florida strain largemouth.
And so what I'll say to y'all, because how I grew up fishing was in farm ponds. And so the bodies of water were super small. So you broke that down. And what I see, and I say this from talking to you and talking to Nate, and watching Brundle fish is y'all, those Northeastern folks are able to break down a body of water super quick because they have that mindset because your bodies of water are small. So you're able to take a huge lake and find the places where, and Drew Gregory is another one that's good at this, but you're able to take a huge body of water and go, what area of this lake am I successful? Like what looks like my lake at home? And then you take it and you take, a 15,000 acre lake and you break it down to 1,000 and like, you give Derek Brundle, he's down there for 2 weeks at Cato.
Yeah.
Where's he going to finish? He's going to finish in the top 10 almost guaranteed because he's got 2 weeks to break that lake down to how he fishes. And that's how Kevin Van Dam, all these anglers, they break a lake down. Here just this year with kayak angling, they break a lake down to how they fish. I like to fish Cinco's, whatever it is. Like, this is where I'm going to break it down. So, I mean, that's the thing about those Northeast anglers is y'all are fishing small bodies of water. They're heavily pressured. But people are able to take that information and then to take a lake somewhere else in the country and be like, break it down. I don't care how pressured it is. They break it down to how well they fish. What looks the same? Because bass are bass. Let's be real.
They are, but I'll tell you, after fishing in the North and South, man, Southern bass get a lot more temperamental. They react a lot more sensitively to fronts and stuff. I mean, they are two different subspecies. There's Northern and Southern, and the Southern have what, 2 or 3 within them. They do different things.
But you wonder. But see, that's the whole thing. What you just said, you understand that. So you understand if you go to Florida, what does a fish look like in Florida when it goes from 70 to 50? And I know, as Shawn the Fisherman, I know the bass in Massachusetts, when it goes from 50 to 30, what the bass are going to do. You have that knowledge to then say, hey, these fish are going to go to the lowest depth in the lake, and they're just going to be in the mud. So I know I got to throw a jig and not hop it, but drag it across the bottom. Like, that's the thing. I think that's where the Northern anglers, why they tend to do well in Florida. One, is the grass, and 2, I think they understand that side of the bass, that side of it, because y'all live through that. Florida has 2 cold fronts a year, and when the cold fronts come through, all the Florida anglers like, them bitches ain't biting. I'm going to the bar drinking because the motherfuckers ain't gonna bite for 4 days. So, I mean, that's kind of where I get into the luck of fishing. To me, people overestimate the luck versus their knowledge and their wisdom.
I just think the luck comes in when you're trying to catch an 18-inch fish and you catch a 19 or a 20. You can't do anything about that. You can put yourself in position to, but how do I know that 19 didn't beat out 2 18s for that fish, for that lure? You know what I mean? Like, you don't know these things.
Bo, that's the semantics of fishing. I mean, those are the unanswered questions. Yeah. The only thing we can do, and we'll get into competitors after this, the only thing we can do as anglers is put ourselves in a position to catch the fish we think we need to win.
And that's where we go into competitors, because you're not worried about what anybody else can do. And like I said, all my energy doesn't go into I'm going to win this. All my energy goes into what's happening around me. I am literally becoming a sounding board for the environment, or trying to. You know what I mean? I'm paying attention to it. I'm not just yelling at the goddamn heron that's over at the dock. I'm looking to see if he's snagging bait fish.
Yeah.
In the when we get iced out up here in the north, I'm looking for painter turtles. I'm looking for sliders, because if they're around, there's active fish around. Mm. That's my temperature gauge. Like, the air temperature and the water temperature can be whatever I'm reading, but if I see those turtles out, I know that I've got a chance of catching fish with actively, not just doing some extremely, cold weather techniques or anything like that. I'm looking for those things. I'm waiting for the wind to shift. I'm noting that, okay, well, I had a 5 mile an hour wind here an hour ago. It just died. Like, what the hell just happened? Where's it going to pop up from next? I'm doing those things. And thankfully with the weather, with the internet and the weather stations, reports, et cetera, we have nowadays, generally you don't get too surprised. You can see what's coming for the most part. You know what I mean? There's always a couple surprises. If you hear you get extreme weather and you get hail instead of rain, well, that kind of sucks. But, again, it's all part of the puzzle. But one thing I don't worry about is the competitors. I'm not saying I'm better than them. I'm saying I cannot control what they're doing. They might all finish below me. They might all finish above me. I might finish somewhere in between. I don't know. We're going to see where that shakes out. But all I'm going to worry about is me reading the water and making sure that if something's going on, and I brought this up on the show a million times, as a punter, as soon as that ball hits your hands, your clock, maybe as soon as it snapped, your clock is starting before you get your head taken off or your leg. Like, that's something I always try to tell any competitive angler to develop is like, you're sitting on a spot. That's great. You've caught 18, 12 inchers. Next time you submit one, take a look at the standings, and that's where you should see. And if you are that far behind, maybe the 12 inchers aren't going to do it for you. But on some days it might be. That's the only time I kind of look and say, all right, where am I hanging out now? Like, do I need to make a change? Is it time to make a change? It's again, it's another assessment. You know what I mean?
So so this is really good. This is where my mindset is different than yours, because when it comes to like thinking about the competitors, like I'm not going to change how I fish because of how Shawn the Fisherman is doing, at 9 o'clock in the morning. Like,
if you've been fishing one spot for 3 hours and whether it's Shawn, Nelson, anybody is well above you and you've been catching fish, but it's 12 inchers, are you not going to make a change at that point? Whether it's a lure or you know what I mean?
100%. So yes, this is where we bring y'all. This is where we bring all this shit together. This is how we bring the first part of this conversation into beginning and during fishing. This is where we bring it together. Because if I go into a place, my mindset is I'm going to win. And I have an area of the lake. I'm like, I'm going to win this motherfucker. I go in there, and at 10 o'clock, I've caught 5 12 inchers for 60 inches. And the winner, first place at this point in time is, let's say, 85. I'm sitting here going, what? Where the fuck do I go? Because I know where the fish are. I just got to get bigger fish. How do I go there? Because my mindset is I want to win. And Shawn just says his mindset, he's want to win. If he's looking
I didn't say that.
You just said if I'm looking at the scoreboard and I've counted 5 12 inchers.
Yeah. Like, but what did I say about winning or placing? I didn't say anything. My goal is to stay competitive. Winning every time that's an extreme. Like, I'm not going to win every time. I understand that, but I'm fishing the same way, and I always want to stay competitive.
Top 20? Is that fishing in top 10 at OI? Like, but define what that is.
I want to finish as high as possible, but I'm not going to lock myself into expecting to win or going out to do that. Like, but I'm going out fishing the same way every time. If I'm submitting a fish and I see the scoreboard that, like, okay, I'm in a spot where I've been catching nothing but small fish. The clock's going off in my head. Are those 60 inches or those 5 12 inches you just mentioned going to keep me competitive or not? Do I need to make a change in that aspect? You know what I mean?
So, but this is why I hate making goals, is because the goal has to be attainable. And for it to be attainable, it has to be a number that you can attain. So, like, your goal is to be competitive, what is that number?
It changes.
Exactly. You don't know that. So that's why I go in the mindset that I'm going to win, because I'm not going to fish any differently. I'm going to fish the same way. Like, I'm going in to catch the 5 biggest fish. In the kayak world, that is how we kayak fish. That's the tournament. 5 longest fish. Like, I'm going to areas to catch the 5 biggest. And so I guess you can put me in the world of it's all or nothing.
No, we agree on that. But
Yeah.
where we don't agree is I'm not going out to beat anyone else or say I'm out there to kick your ass. I'm out there to catch the 5 biggest fish.
Right.
That I can.
Right.
And if I look and have to adjust and see that my 5 biggest fish that I've caught in an area are not going to cut it, then I might have to change something. I would probably, if I found fish, I would probably change lures first to say, well, let's bump up the size. Well, let's do a little different to see if I can attract a bigger fish in that area. But again, I don't know, to say to you're going out there to beat someone's ass or kick their ass, like, I'm not making it on a personal level. It's just fishing. We're going. Am I in there to do the best I possibly can and hope I can win? Yes. Do I expect to win every time? No. But I'm going to do my best.
Right. And so that's the competitive side of it from competitors.
Yeah.
Like, you're in fishing, you're going to get beat by people who have less knowledge and less time fishing than you, more often than not, just like you're going to lose tournaments.
Depends on what level. You get up to the higher levels, that probably that happens a lot less. You know what I mean?
Yes, but it's also the number of people. I mean, if you go to the KBF National Championship, you got 370 anglers. You know, Jim Bob, who just started fishing out of a kayak last year, could whoop your ass for 2 days. That shit happens all the time. But then you go to Hobie BOS, where they got 50 anglers, the top 50 in the country that made it there from from a standpoint of what's the word? Week over week, tournament over tournament, like that's different. But in general, anybody can beat. 2001, we beat Florida State like 41-9. They were number 5 team in the country. Nobody gave us a chance. 2 weeks after 9/11, we beat the shit out of them. And so I've had those. But what we get down to the fishing side is that I don't compete with Shawn. I don't compete with Matt Dunn. Like, I want to beat those guys, but where I want to win is against the fish.
Okay, so that's different. So that's clarifying what the comments that originally started all this are, because, you know, when I listened to that show was, I want to get out of the water, I want to beat your ass. And that was a straight up competitor thing. Yeah. And I know you do.
I want to beat your ass when I get out in the water, but I'm not competing with you. I want to win, but I know that I've got to catch a certain amount of fish at a certain length.
So the beating my ass is a secondary goal to catching your limit of the 5 biggest fish that you can, because that will
biggest. Yes.
What we found out is that you're making goals and just not admitting to it.
No. Yes. But goals, but no. Like,
I just beat your ass.
I'm not making a all right. I know I'm going to Falls Lake this weekend. I know I need 95 inches of wind, so I'm catching 95 inches. My goal is to go out and catch. Like, I don't look at the leaderboard unless I have 5 fish, because up until 5 fish, that shit don't matter.
Well, sometimes it does. If you get a bad,
To me, it doesn't, though. I mean, because I'm not going to change. Like, I'm out to catch. I go to fish the area, and I fish where I think I can catch the 5 biggest fish.
Yeah. So here's this is semantics, but here's why I'm saying that. The last tournament I directed for my division in the Massachusetts Kayak Bassing organization, we went to a lake that it was the first time a lot of us had fished it in a tournament. A couple people pre-fished.
What was the name of that lake? Because
we're not. It's a lake that shall not be named. So we went out there and it was rough, dude, and nobody caught a limit. You know, the winner caught 3 bass. So it was a horse race, man. It was fun, and those kind of tournaments can be fun where everyone had a shot up until the last second. You know what I mean?
We had a tournament. So my first ever tournament fishing was at Sharon Harris in February with CCKF. And I had been fishing Sharon Harris since December. So I had a general idea where the fish were going to be. It was cold as shit. We had a cold front push through. We launched that morning. It was 21 degrees, fucking just terrible conditions. We caught 75 anglers, entered 6 fish.
That sucks. I hate that. That really sucks.
6 fish were entered by 6 individual anglers.
But here's where that could be fun.
Let me finish the story. 6 fish by 6 different anglers out of 75. And the guy who won, he ended up winning like $1,600 with a 21-inch fish, doing some bullshit up on a piece of lake that you'd never thought of. And so, like, that's the whole, like, that to me, I lost 2 fish. Now, were the fish at all, were they catfish or white perch? They could have been. Where I was fishing, they could have been a 7-pounder. And I know that from the fish that other people had caught and that I knew were in the area. The 2 fish that I had that came off, I never saw, they could have been damn 7-pounders. But they also could have been a little ass catfish or a little ass white perch.
Well, you could have kept those to eat, man.
I didn't catch them, so I couldn't fucking keep them, Shawn.
I know you. That's why I said you could have. But I mean, that's a fun tournament where you have anglers of various skill levels and everybody has a shot. It's not just like those normal 3 or 4 guys that always win every tournament or always in the top 5 plus 1. You know, it sometimes those tournaments can be fun, but for us, that one sucked. I was not pleased with the way things went out at the lake that shall not be named. Fuck that place.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck that lake.
So tell me then this. Like, you've been fishing, you fished boat tournaments as a co-angler, you fished as a kayak angler. Like, is it different for you fishing as a co-angler? And I know we're stepping out, but this is important to me because we have people that fish as co-anglers. Like, is there a difference when you fish as a co-angler to a kayak? Like,
there is
like for you.
All right. So the latest, and I think we've wrapped everything. We definitely covered everything. Well, we didn't cover autopsies, but we kind of did. I mean, as far as the 3 topics we had, I think we can wrap that. But like, as far as that, when I was fishing tournaments, 10, 12 years ago, it was me and a friend, and we were learning, and we had our heads up our asses. And honestly, the best I ever did at that extremely pressured lake was when I first started figuring out how to read water. And I said, I know this sounds funny, but let's stick in this one area and do this one technique. I think we'll be all right. And right off the bat, I got a little 12-incher. I'm like, yay, this is the first time we've been to one of these fucking tournaments and not been skunked. And then we stuck on that pattern, and I caught what would have been the lunker bass, but I told this story on the show too. Right before the tournament, when we registered, I said, we've been in this tournament for 3 years. I'll be damned if they're getting my $5 for lunker. Fuck them. And I didn't put in on the lunker pool. And it was a weight tournament. I was the only person who broke 5 pounds. And when they called my name, I was like, I can't take this. I didn't win lunker. I didn't pay for it. And they're like, okay. And the next guy stepped right up and smiled at me. And I'm like, well, I did the right thing, but
always pay your $5 fucking dollars. People.
I do now. I don't joke around. Every lunker pool, I just get into.
If you have learned anything from this fucking podcast, is Shawn the Fisherman knows how to find big fish that he thinks is luck. And secondly, Shawn the Fisherman knows that he pays his $5 for lunker.
Mm-hmm. So back in the day, it wasn't, I didn't, that was the first time I planned something out. That was I think the only time I ever did that. And then moved on to kayak fishing where I'm in control of my own boat. I have a tandem that, my wife and one of my sons use. I don't get into it.
We talking about your own boat.
Yeah. So that's where I really learned to read water on my own. And then actually just a month and a half ago, good old Joe from Old Glory Outdoors hosted a big boat tournament.
Fucking Joe Brown?
Who the fuck is that? Who the fuck is Joe Brown?
Joe Brown.
So,
asshole.
Yeah. Why is he an asshole?
I don't know. I don't know who the fuck he is.
Okay. Well, we don't, just because you don't know who the fuck he is, you don't know he's an asshole. But anyways, he hosted a big boat tournament. I do have another friend that has not competitively fished in his bass boat. He goes out and has a good time. And I always try to get out with him, especially during these multi-species tournaments we do, because we don't have restrictions on boats or shores or anything like that. And he's been out a couple of times, but we're out in a monthly tournament. It's not like high pressure. This was a little bit more pressure. And what he said was, he goes, let's do this Saturday. We're in. He goes, I hope you have a plan. He said that to me. And I said, I'll develop a plan. So I said, here's where the wind's going. Here's where I'd like to hit. There's a little bit of structure here and there's a little bit of structure here. And we went through plan A, B, and C and came up with only one fish that I caught at like 7:30 in the morning or something like that, right when we got out there. And I said, okay, we're fucked. We're going to plan D, which is the kitchen sink, and we're going to move back. And then we loaded up on fish and finished third. And we probably, I'm not going to say probably, there was a possibility of finishing higher. Neither of us had a scale. It was a tournament where you dealt with weight. We have rulers. I'm just so used to that at this point. And we had two fish that were, man, one was longer and skinnier. The other one was shorter and fatter. And they were just so close to each other. We're both going like this. I can't tell. And we were within, I think it was a tenth of a pound difference between third and second place. And for all I know, we threw away the bigger fish. I don't know.
So Shawn, were y'all catching those fish at that point in time and in that area? Was it luck or was it knowledge and wisdom?
After we hit the fourth spots I wanted to hit, whatever it was, plan E, I was at, let's go try there. I don't have any other answers.
So was it luck or wisdom? Did you go there because you thought there could be big fish there because you had caught or seen big fish there?
I had never been to that spot.
So it was wisdom. This is a spot fish could be.
I don't know if it was wisdom or fuck it, we're not catching fish anywhere else. We had some options that I decided not to pursue, and I'm like, I don't know, just go for that one. Like, it's closer. Yeah. We'll get a lot more time to have lines in the water.
But your buddy would have never gone there before because he had no knowledge, all right?
He'd never been to that lake.
Yeah.
And I've only fished there 3 times, and I never fished that part of it. I was like,
damn, but you went there because it looked good. Like, to me, that's what separates. That's what separates the people who win, the people who finish in the top versus the people who don't get a fucking bite.
Well, I think that was more of an internal clock thing. And again, I mean, I was like, I don't know what else to do. Like we've fished where I thought fish would be, and they weren't. And it was just like, let's try something new. And that was where we went. And honestly, the fish that we caught that ended up, putting us in third place, it was around a point, and we stumbled onto a massive fish. Like I did not, where those fish was in such a nondescript spot near a point. But because if I find a point or some piece of structure, I fucking, most people will rip it apart. It's not like you take 2 casts and move on. I go through it again, methodically, cut it up, come around the point, and just by chance, there was a pool of fish in a nondescript spot. And I was like, what are these doing here? But they kept biting.
Yeah.
And we stuck on it. I know bass boats are a little bit different where people are a little more cutthroat, but we stuck on that spot, and people were trying to get in on us, and we just didn't move because when we started catching fish, the golden rule kicks in. You find fish, you don't leave fish.
That's right.
And then, people were trying to move in. It's like, we're here, and we stayed there for 3.5 hours. But
dude, this is let's just say I'm putting words in your mouth. You would call that luck, and I would say it's not luck. You put yourself in a position to find fish. That's all it was. Now, to get those fish to bite, that could be luck because could be timing. They're not going to bite between 11 and 12, but they start at 1. But that's when if you think about, and I've alluded to this on this podcast numerous times about Buck Perry and structure fishing. This guy was promoting structure fishing in the 50s and 60s before structure fishing ever existed, before sonars existed. Like, it was a whole different thing. But you put yourself in a position to catch fish because we cannot catch fish where fish ain't. So if the fish aren't there, you can't catch them. Doesn't matter how pretty it is. But this is another story that you've alluded to for like the 18th time that you keep not giving yourself credit for. That you put yourself and your partner at this point in time in a position to win because this is an area the fish are. And you knew that, or you wouldn't have fished it for 3 hours.
It doesn't. No.
Oh my God!
I stayed there because we caught the fish. We stayed there because the bite was there. We found a bite. The problem was, and I've explained this on the show a million times. When anglers do prep and you use a topo map, when you're up in the Northeast, the topo map only tells half the story. The other half is the weeds, because you're not going to see what the weeds, how they're growing, pockets they're leaving, how high they are to the surface. You don't see that on the topo map. So you have to go into the unknown and figure that out while you're fishing.
Right.
That's what we did, dude. That was an unknown area. We'd never been there. You couldn't see that. All right. But there's certain things I always gravitate to. You always gravitate to a point, right? I went to that point. We caught a couple small fish, and then I said, well, we've got a couple little ones. Let's see if there's anything else. And then we worked our way around the point, and then on the other side of the point, there was a nondescript. I don't even know if it was a pocket. I have no idea. We never went over it. I don't know what we were casting to that was holding an area of fish, but when we hit them, we stayed there because the golden rule is you never leave fish to catch fish.
Shawn, that ain't fucking luck, dude. You used knowledge.
No, I used logic, not knowledge. I had no previous knowledge of that spot. That's logic.
No, you used knowledge for the situation that arose. Oh my God. You know what? I'm going to keep recording this motherfucker until the point that we are asleep and in bed. Because you are not giving yourself enough credit for the amount of knowledge that you have fucking fishing. You're not. Like,
I have a ton of knowledge. Dude, I agree with that. I got 31 years, but it doesn't matter.
Shawn, it matters from a competitive standpoint. It matters when you take that knowledge and you put yourself in a position to catch the fish because of that knowledge. Because look, my drive's fucked. I can't get to where I want to fish. I can only fish this area. But looking at the weather, this area, what I have, these are the baits you're going to bite. So that's what I throw, and you catch them and win. But that ain't fucking luck, Shawn.
What, again, at what point have you ever said to somebody, I knew exactly there were going to be 3 or 4 18-inch fish right there. That's where the luck comes in, man. Like, you don't know There's always an element of it. Always. I'm not saying it's 100%. No, did I put myself in position? Yes, I did. I did it unknowingly. I did not know. I've never fished that spot before.
It doesn't matter. You put yourself in the position. There's no difference in me going to the same lake and doing my research and going and being like, oh my God, this fucking spot looks great. I'm going to fish here the whole day and I catch the same fish you caught. But if I go to that same place and I'm like, fuck, I don't know. You know what? I'm just going to go fish the bank because I ain't ever been here. I don't know. Like that. That's the knowledge. If I come and if I fished because of my knowledge and where bass movements and all this, I fish the same area as you and win. That's not luck. But if I just go fish the bank for 8 hours, all I'm doing is covering 15, 20 miles of bank, junk fishing, and I win, that's luck.
That's not. You're by your own definition, that's not. So was it bad luck when I went to Winnipesaukee and got absolutely murdered because I only caught like 2 fish? Because I was using all my knowledge based on lakes that were similar, based on structure that was similar, and I got killed. I got killed, dude. So what happened there?
I don't know. I don't know the whole story, but I'm just saying that no. If you would have won that, would I consider that luck? Yes. If I were to go into this last tournament I fished in at Falls, I fished in the river, which I'd never been before. That bitch looked like it wasn't even chocolate milk. It was like slushy. So I loaded up and went to another area that I thought looked good. And because it was a place that the majority of kayak anglers wouldn't be at that time. And get a bite the whole fucking day. Now I didn't get to fish the whole day, but I get a bite. I didn't get a bite. But I know. But if I would have gone to my second place and caught a winning bag, I would 100% tell you that I made that happen because I saw an area where I thought fish should be. And if I caught those fish and they were there, that's not fucking luck.
What I'm getting at is the luck. The only luck I'm throwing in there is what are the size of the fish? Are the size of the fish that you're catching, which you have no way to dictate, are they going to be enough to stay competitive? No, I agree. You're going to see, like, I see people like that don't have a lot of experience, and I'll look at them and I'll be like, okay, you're going to go out in 20 feet of water in crystal clear water and rip a whopper plopper 130 size all day. That tells me you don't have a lot of experience. You know what I mean? But it's there. You can put yourself in position, but you don't know what the fish are going to do. So there is some luck. There is. It's not. I'm not saying it's 25% even. I'm saying there's that 18-inch fish that puts you in second place versus the 20 that puts you in first. There's no way to dictate that, no matter how much knowledge you have. None.
All right. I'm not good at math. All right. So let's make this simple.
You need the erase board for this?
90. I mean, I can. I'll bring this motherfucker out. Shit, hold on. Let me find my fucking pen. Where that motherfucker at? We're going to make this shit simple, bud. Look, we're going to make this shit simple. All right. I got to bring this shit out because you ain't believing me. 99% of anglers ain't writing that shit out because it's too long. Don't know shit. All right. They don't know shit.
Wow, that's a pretty high estimate. Where'd you get that number from? My statistics course said it was only 78, and that was a few years ago. Did it increased?
Don't show shit. 1% of those motherfuckers win a tournament.
Dude,
99% of the winners of those tournaments, no shit. The luck. Your example is it's not a luck example. You put yourself in a position to catch the fish you needed to win. That's all it was. Because you're right. We don't know if there's 18 to 20 inch fish there or 14 to 15 until we catch them. But you knew there were 17 to 18s. So you knew there was a potential for there to be bigger. Like if you would have caught 20 15-inch fish there in the same time period.
But again, Paul, you're discounting a lot of the facts. You're throwing it out like I honed in on this one spot. I was moving. I only had a less than a football field. I was going like this, literally circles.
You're proving my point to the knowledge of stopping and fishing the area. You're proving
I wasn't. Point. I was moving. I never stopped moving. I never stopped. People don't get that. Like if I power fish, I'm not stationary. I'm moving.
Oh, same here. Yeah.
So I had a circle. I wore fucking treads in that lake from the circles I did. I must have gone around that lake. So why didn't those two fish hit the previous 50 times I went in those circles? You know what I mean?
So you're strengthening my argument, because if you hit that same place 30 times versus covering the same amount of area and not hitting the same place more than once, I mean, that's easy.
I had nowhere to go. I couldn't move.
You still fucking won.
It doesn't matter. Dude, so when think about the variables.
I'm trying to make you sound like a genius, and you're fucking.
I'm not. Well, here's the genius stuff. Think about all the variables that got eliminated during those 50 fucking laps, right? Yeah. Number one, if again going back to the show, I've said it numerous times. I carry less tackle than anybody I know. I carry five fucking waterproof boxes. One of them is just terminal tackle and like replacement skirts. One of them is crankbaits. One of them is jerk baits. One of them is stuff with skirts, so that's spinnerbaits, bladed jigs and jigs. And one of them is miscellaneous fucking topwater stuff, which I barely use. I barely throw topwater. But it does have its circumstances while I'll throw them.
What's wrong with you?
I've moved on from topwater. I'm fishing my circumstances.
Right, finish your story, because this shit. I'm about to end this fucking podcast like Alex did.
So that's 5 boxes. I keep a minimal amount of colors, usually no more than 3, sometimes 4, depending on that.
Yeah, right? Colors don't matter. We can talk about that shit all day. I think we pretty much agree. Color is a fucking marketing scheme.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then for plastics, I carry 4 bags with the same types of plastics in different sizes in no more than 3 colors. That's it. So I'm out there, and right off the bat, I've got my grid in my head of, okay, well, I can't throw in these weeds. I can't throw treble hooks. I can't throw this. I can't throw that. I'm down to like 2 or 3 lures, and now I just fuck around with the colors. That's it. I'm just a process of elimination. But the thing is, no one, and this is where, if you want me to pat myself on the fucking cots.
Goddamn, yes. Because you
all right. No one that I know keeps records like I do. No one. I am the Billy Bean. I was just watching clips of Moneyball the other day. I'm the Billy Bean of fishing. All right.
Bo, so this is where it comes into. That you are proving my point. It ain't fucking luck.
No, it's
you got to the position you were at because of knowledge.
I'm not going to accept that, man. There's no way.
Oh my God. You know what? This is my fucking podcast. Alex will agree, and we're going to accept that shit.
No, that big boat tournament, dude, that could have happened anywhere. And I did not know in any way, shape, or form it was going to happen. I didn't know. There was no indication that what I was doing was going to turn up what I did. None. Even the first one of the we had a five fish limit. Was it a 5 or a 3? I think it was 5. The first one that I kept was early in the morning in a different place on something completely different, and that threw me off for the day. Like, I'm like, what is happening here? I had to make an adjustment, but I didn't know that was going to be the adjustment that worked. I was again just cycling through. Yeah. You know what I mean? And honestly, I think, come to think about it now, that was the 3rd or 4th adjustment I made. It was just cycling through my fucking normal shit. Just, this is what I do.
And so I wanted I thought we wanted us to get into kind of the co-angler side of it, but I think that's a very different side because we don't control our destiny on that side. But in the kayak world, we 100% control our destiny, where we're going to go, what we're going to fish. And so yeah. I think that's where we're hanging this episode on, is from the kayak world, in the fact that, we know we can change where we're going to fish.
Yeah.
And not only that, is we might not be able to even control where we're fishing, which is a great example of your story. Your ship you got to the point that you had to fish an area that you hadn't planned on, that you weren't necessarily prepared for, but you knew that area, in the weather, the time, all that stuff. That's just knowledge, man. That's stuff that you don't get.
But what you're discounting on this is, Paul, I caught those fish there, but you're discounting the half mile that I worked to get there. Like, I was like, okay, here's where I think we should start. But I don't know there's going to be fish there. I worked a half mile before that point, and I said, let's find the weed line and work down it. Maybe they're here. They weren't. What the fuck are they doing over here? Like, again, process of elimination. It's not a knowledge thing. I thought they were in the previous half mile. That's what I thought. They were not. I just kept working down to see, what is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen?
But Shawn, that's the knowledge part of it, is that they should be here. So I'm going to work it down until there's nowhere else to work.
All right. Well, you want to give me some sort of clairvoyance at this point, I'll fucking take it. But big thing is, where I shot you in the foot is, as far as the 2 experiences that I talked about with being a quote unquote co-angler, I really wasn't. Because I was, even though my foot wasn't on the trolling motor pedal, the angler was saying, where do we go? How often does an angler turn to a co-angler and say, what do you want to do, buddy? That fucking never happens. Whereas that
happens when, so that's a good example of an angler that ain't, perfect. That's an angler that hadn't put the time in, that doesn't understand the fish and doesn't understand the lake. That's the biggest thing.
Yet they might be at a different level of experience. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, we can talk about 20 years from now, that same angler coming back and being that. But at that point in time, we have to live as anglers and shit. We have to live in the moment.
I don't want to live in shit. Oh, in the moment. Okay.
We have to live in the moment. And that's that's old boys called to thing, fish in the moment. And we have to, because as we are an advanced society in fucking everything, but we don't know fucking shit about fish. We think we do, and some people have that shit kind of figured out, but we still don't understand fish the way that we think we do. And so you have to, like, what are the fish doing today? Because it's all weather driven. So what are the fish doing today? And when you get out there, and today ain't what the fish are doing, what the fuck are they doing? And why? We need to know what they're doing now to catch them. But we need to know why for in the future from a competitive standpoint, right? And there's been some competitors that have figured that shit out. Kevin Van Dam is kind of like the creme de creme of that. He's been able to figure out what fish are going to do before the fish do it. Like there's not, Jacob Lee is another one. Like there's a few anglers, professional anglers, that have been able to break that code. And what's the interesting part to me is they still haven't broke that shit down to a science. Like they're still guessing. And so me and you as kayak anglers ain't gonna be able to break. But we don't get paid for that shit. Like, we aren't competing like that. We aren't on the water enough to do that. But what we can do as competitive anglers is we can put ourselves in a position to where we think they're going to be. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to competitive kayak angling is that we can't run from spot to spot. We can't do the shit that bass boats can do, right? So those competitive anglers in the kayak world, what they do is they find areas that the fish are going to be. So they're either deep, they're shallow, they're mid-range, they're grass. They find these areas that they can just run super duper fast. And not just kayak angling, but just professional anglers, people who make money angling. They're going to run these areas, and they're going to put themselves in an initial position to find the fish because they go to an area that has the most opportunity for those fish to be. That makes sense.
Does. And that little monologue you just went on was an excellent way to wrap up a 2-hour program because I want to go to bed.
Oh my God. Good. Motherfucker, you told me this shit was going to last 15 hours. I got a 12-pack.
Oh my God. Well, you can drink it by yourself. You can talk to the people. I mean, as we know, I have a little bit of a fucking full schedule being a beautiful housewife that I am. And I do have to have the kids up and ready for school in the morning. I really did think you did a good job of that monologue. I was sitting here smiling going, wow, Paul's really putting a cap on this, but you want to talk more.
So I think here's the thing, Shawn, I think this is, so you and I both believe that we go into tournaments with the mindset that we're not going to finish last. Like we're going to make noises.
Going to try.
I think where we differentiate the biggest is that I want to win, but you come in with a specific, like I want to finish top 5, top 10. You have a better understanding of where you want to finish.
I want to finish as high as possible, but I don't lock myself into the possible disappointment of not reaching that goal. It's check off all the little boxes and see where you end up. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
That's all.
Win. Like my goal is to win.
Yeah, but I fished the process I'm going through of checking all those little boxes. I believe will help me stay competitive and possibly win. You know what I mean? And it's, you said it yourself, and I agree with you, man. It's not just the eastern side of the MAKB that has all the big guns. I mean, I didn't win every one of the Western Division events at all. I won 2 of them out of 7. I placed well in a number of them, and it paid off. And I lucked out. And let me really accentuate this. I lucked out in that last shitty tournament where Nelson didn't call out a few more fish, and I barely edged him out for Angler of the Year. That's where I lucked out because I had no control over Nelson. I didn't do as well as I, would have liked, but I got lucky where neither did he, because I can't control that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's the same thing every time. Observe, react, adjust every time. And if you have fewer variables involved in that, meaning colors, lures, etc., that's my secret to success. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I put in the work. I'm not denying that. I believe me, nobody writes down, You'll see me. People who have fished around me see that when I catch a fish, why is Shawn writing that little fucking 8-inch bluegill that accidentally went after a Ned rig in his notebook? You know what I mean? Or tried, not even accidentally went at it, purposely went at it, but to hump it, not to eat it. You know what I mean? I'm writing that down because now I know, okay, so I had some bluegill go after that. What's going on with that? And I try to establish a pattern or see if there is one. It might, I mean, it's a bluegill. You never know. Bluegill eat stupid shit. They'll eat corn. You spit on the water, they'll eat that. Who the fuck knows? But if I see that I'm throwing a lure and I'm catching more bluegill than bass with it, and none of the bass that I am catching are big, that's when I say, do I need to be spending that money on that lure because I'm not turning up my results with it? And then I go from there, and that lure is off the list, and then it's no longer part of that grid that I'm mentally going through. You know what I mean? I'm basically, the bottom line is when we started this whole thing, I feel that you said you were extreme, and I think it's just an extreme emotional thing. And I don't go that far. I just try to be Iceman with it. Where I get emotional is bullshit. Fucking boaters, people fucking being assholes, something break,
motherfuckers,
shitty products that break when they fucking shouldn't, especially if I paid a lot of money. Fuck that product. But that's where I get pissed, is where the unexpected, lack of quality control.
And so we kind of alluded to this earlier, where you said I played sports at a high level and you hadn't. Like, it's a hard. The mentality that I have is probably on the low spectrum of that. And because it's hard to have that mentality, because we fail more than we win. And so to have that mentality is very difficult, knowing that I started my kayak fishing tournament journey in February. And motherfucker, I ain't finished in the top 10 in a single one. And I fished a bunch. I fished up to this point 12 or 14. Like, mentally, that's hard for somebody to accept and to keep going.
Well, check this out. I know you played football and I know you played basketball. Did you ever play baseball?
Dude, I played every sport in high school. I even lettered 4 years in track.
So think of
all the other three sports. Yeah.
Think of tournament fishing as and not even tournament fishing. Think of every outing, not as a season or not as a game, but as an at bat.
Oh yeah.
And when you're done fishing, that's your average. And sometimes you might be up against, a great pitcher in a tournament, and then you see, where your average is. But it's always going to be moving. That's like the kind of, I said it on the real quick. I said it on the podcast. Fishing is weird where it has elements of three sports. It has elements of hunting because you're interacting with animals, right, in their environment. It has elements of
that shit.
Yeah, it has elements of baseball and it has elements of golf.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has elements of golf with dealing with the weather and assessing the weather before you make a cast or go out on a tournament or whatever, or go out on an outing. It has elements of baseball because when you look at it, if you're documenting things like the way I am, you can pull more statistics out of how you should improve your game than anything. But I mean, like I said, nobody puts that work in. Nobody. I don't know anybody who puts that work in but me. Like, seriously, unless somebody's full of shit not telling me, but I'm telling you, since 2009, everything with gills that I have caught, I have written down and documented what I've caught it on to save me money on lures and to show what my strengths are and what my weaknesses are. And, I ride with it. And that's the way fishing is. It's just, it's for me, it's a real combination of those three sports. And then I apply those things. So,
so what I'll say though is like, my mentality ain't for the weak of heart. Like, if you want to get into kayak fishing and you buy your kayak tomorrow, and then February 2022 you start kayak fishing, and by June you're in the position I am, and your mindset ain't right, you're gonna quit. You're probably not only gonna quit the competitive side, you're just gonna fucking quit fishing. Like, I understand that. That's why at the beginning of this podcast, I said I'm at the extreme. Like, it's win or nothing. But when I don't win, I'm not sitting over here, bitching and crying. I'm like, what the fuck did I not do? Where do I need to improve? And so what it comes down to, so for my mindset, because we preface this with my mindset, your mindset is a way for people to think that we're on the extremes. Is my mindset is where do I improve? And so I've surrounded myself, and I have talked to other anglers in the boat world and the kayak world, especially locally. It's like, look, I suck at this. I found fish. I just couldn't catch them. Like, I started, I ran in, I went to that. What do I do to make myself better? And I think that regardless, that's my mindset. Your mindset, it's the same thing though. Because at the end of the day, you're thinking to yourself, how do I improve upon what I didn't achieve? And so I think that's where we bring it all together is no matter what your goal is, no matter how you think of it to the extreme, it's like at the end of the day, where can I improve? Is it a bait? Is it a technique? Where do I improve on that? I think that's where you and that's why I like this podcast. That's why I like the idea is that we can come together and there's actionable items at the end of it to improve upon what we did.
Yeah, there is. I mean, like I said, I don't usually talk to other anglers because we're all liars. We don't trust each other, but I can tell you this. And this is not a lie, is write down what you're doing because you're the only person you can trust. Write down what you're doing and keep that data for a couple of years and then analyze it and say, what am I doing? Because if someone, like I said, if you're calling me you're calling me a successful angler, which I win tournaments, but not all of them. And I'm always looking to improve and do better. Right. That's good. But there's techniques I won't touch, because it's not my style. It's not where my strength is. Why throw that drop shot when I can maybe, and I'm not telling everybody everything, but I fuck around with some Ned rigs. I do some definitely different things than other people. Why, I roll with that, and that's where I have my success. Maybe one day I will drop shot, but right now I'm not. You know what I mean? Unless everything I'm doing stops catching fish, and I have to turn to that and say, is this the answer? I don't know that, but
but that's where everybody can connect because they're like, I ain't throwing no fucking drop shot. I want to follow Shawn, and Shawn,
that's what I'm saying.
We'll throw a Nico rig, so I'm throwing a Nico rig and I win. I
ain't throwing a fucking Nico rig.
Damn it! This is my show tonight, Shawn. Don't fucking.
So now I have to learn how to Nico rig. That's fucking great. No. How about I don't? How about I just stick with my little Ned and be happy in Ned land? But yeah, man.
Yeah, but I mean, this is where it comes down to is that I fish what you're comfortable fishing. I mean,
that you're having success with, measurable success with.
Yes.
And don't get worried about other people.
If you go back and look at the kayak angler people on YouTube, and that's where we'll set it. I mean, you've been fishing out of a kayak before 99% of those folks were. So, I mean, if folks want to take kayak knowledge in fishing, like you're the person that they take that knowledge from somebody that just didn't start 4 years ago. I mean, you were, what'd you say, 10 years ago? 2011?
I bought my first wreck kayak in 2006 or 7. So 15 years, 15 years-ish.
So, I mean, that's the majority of kayak anglers now on YouTube are from the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. And I've worked through all the horrible changes, or the not the horrible changes, the good changes from the horrible setups that used to exist. I mean,
yeah,
I still have some
on your own. So
yeah, and I'm I'm in a very comfortable kayak now where a lot of the physical injuries that have occurred to me over the years, I can deal with in that kayak. But like before, man, some of the kayaks I've used have been quite literally a pain in the ass.
But see, that's where kayak fishing comes into. It ain't easy to bass fish out of a kayak. If you want to beat the bank, it is what it is. You can do that. But if you're going to competitively fish, you can't just beat the bank. You're going to be in rivers. You're going to be shallow. You're going to be offshore. And it's tough. And I think that's where folks, we talk about growing this business, and the entry level for a kayak is so much cheaper than a boat. And I think that's where we get to this, is that people think they can go into a kayak and fish what they see on YouTube. It ain't that fucking easy, folks.
If you don't know how to fish, it doesn't matter what you're in.
But see, that's where I think, Shawn, where folks can learn from you is the what you're calling a lot of luck is a lot of wisdom. It's being at the right place at the right time, and there's a wisdom to that. There's a wisdom to Michael Jordan or Larry Bird being at a particular spot on the floor because they've seen the defense play that. Like, that's wisdom.
Yeah, but here's the deal. You know what's luck? Whether that jump shot, when it goes in, if it's going to rattle in on the hoop or it's going to swish. That's what I'm getting at.
You know what? It doesn't matter. The bitch went in, Shawn. God damn it. I cannot.
It does matter. It does matter.
Demoralizing yourself.
All I'm saying, the only luck I'm throwing in is I'm taking the credit. Yeah, dude, I did a lot of hard work to be able to talk about this shit competently. But
you're wise.
If you can tell me what wisdom, point blank, that dictates that I can use wisdom to catch a fish that's 1 inch bigger than another fish, I'm shutting my mouth. There is no such wisdom. There's wisdom to put yourself in a decent spot where there's fish, but you don't know if you're on the spot where there's 20-inch fish and 21-inch fish when you need those fish, or just 18. You don't know that, especially not at that place where I'm giving the example of. You'd see this place and be like, fuck me, you're right.
If we knew fishing to those exact points, you would be the richest person in the world. Jeff Bezos would be coming to your house to have wine and steaks.
And he'd be like, no, he'd be coming to me going, where's those 21 inchers, Shawn? I'll be like, I'll tell you, for wine and steaks.
with a wild animal, they're predictable, but we don't know specifically what they're going to do. So, but when it comes down to fishing and winning and being in a position to win money, it comes down to the simple fact of putting yourself in a position where the fish are. Yes. Because you can't catch fish where the fish ain't.
And I'm going to throw some statistics at you. What you just said is 95% of the equation.
I would say it's 99.
Nope, I would go less than that. I would say 95 because I took a statistics class in college, and then the other 5% is the luck of being on 21 inchers and not 18s, and you have no way of knowing that. Never mind this 99-1 shit. 95-5.
Oh my god. Okay.
On that note, we have talked a lot, Paul. I do have to get up and get the kids to school. This was absolutely enjoyable, and I am definitely willing to help fill some airtime with another 2 hour and 18 minute and 37 second podcast while Swamp Rat is out doing Swamp Rat things.
You're forgetting the 20 minutes that Swamp Rat cut off this bitch in the beginning. So, secondly, yes, you'll be coming on as a co-host. And, look, guys, Shawn the Fisherman is the most viewed / watched guest of Bass and Brews history
in Antarctica. Did my episode go that high? What are you talking about?
Both that bitch went higher than both of mine. I'm really pissed.
That bitch got higher than me before I go to bed.
Oh shit, little grandpappy's little something.
Grandpappy's sleepy tobacco.
look, we might touch on some of this later, y'all. Appreciate y'all staying if you stayed this late. Shawn the Fisherman, great ass guy. Go listen to Jigs and Bigs, great podcast. It's your morning podcast, like 2.5 to 3.5 hours. Love it. But Shawn the Fisherman, he's been fishing for like 70 years. He's old as fuck. He's much older than he looks, but a lot of knowledge. And I'm glad he came on. So go check him out. Thank y'all for listening. This is a long episode. It probably won't be this long in the future, but we thought
Unless
this
I'm
was
on.
yeah, we thought this was going to go 12 or 14 hours, but it didn't. But here we are. So thank y'all. We'll see you later. All right.